Yeah, hi, this is SportsReplays, and this is my Supercoach preseason team at this stage. Just want to let you guys know I finished 116 in BBL Supercoach, so I'm pretty happy with that effort. So we'll start off with the back line here. Harry Sheasel, I think he's sort of, wouldn't say a must-have, but you're going to bring him at some point, so you might as well start with him. Yes, he has a Brownlow potential, probably North Melbourne's best player already, or one of, and he's just phenomenal, particularly at his age. And a defender, we don't have many defenders averaging at that price point, so it is an obvious have. And then Max Holmes, 533, a bit of a semi-pod, maybe not quite a pod, but not everyone owns him at this stage. So what I'm predicting here is he may go up, may hopefully then go up, because he is still fairly young. So I'm expecting his points to go up a little bit more. Who knows? Maybe last year it was just he could go down potentially, but based on his age, he's still fairly young. I do expect him to more likely to increase his average than not. We'll just have to see with Holmes, but it should be a safe selection. And Callum Mills hasn't been the best the last few years, being injured, and this isn't really that same position compared to what he had for a few years ago, where he averaged over 110 for a couple of seasons. With his selection, I'm not too sure if he can get back to that same scoring, but if he can at least get over 100, you'll be able to make money, and particularly since he's a defender. Averaging 105 or even 100 might just be enough, at least for a while. And if he isn't quite averaging as high as some of the other defenders, you could probably then upgrade him. But if you can make like 150,000 off Mills, which is probably the key here, that'd be ideal. And then on to Coleman. So yeah, he was injured last season. Now if he is going to start, let's start playing in round one. He's probably a good selection to have, but is he going to be fit and firing? I'm not too sure. This one may potentially change. It seems like a lot of other people are sold on him. Some people aren't. I'm probably 50-50, but I have it in the team for the moment. Just simply because we sort of know what he's going to produce, and he's still fairly young as well. We have that scoring history, so the chances of he's going to go up once he does play. I'm just concerned he may not be starting round one, but Brisbane supporters will probably have a better idea than what I would. And you got Travaglia, which I probably pronounced that poorly. 172. Again, I'm not too sure exactly. Is he going to be playing round one? He does have that DPP status as well, which is sort of what we want, which could make it a bit easier to do a few certain trades down the line, or swap players over to cover a buy position potentially. But I'm not too sure if he's going to be selected round one. St Kilda fans have a better idea. Again, with a lot of these rookies, I'm not too sure exactly if they're going to be in the starting team or not. With St Kilda, it's probably a 50-50 call. But yeah, look, a lot of other people on board. And then you got Bo Allen here. 136,000, so he's a bit cheaper. I think West Coast should just play in their youth. Should start playing more of their youth. Again, it's another rookie, so we're going to have to see with the preseason matches. I know it's preseason, just to get a glimpse of their potential scoring. And then Al Huui, he should hopefully get selected if he is fit. He was going to play last year, and it would have been a decent selection last year. But yeah, he should get a game if fit, because that's what we brought him in for. And the same thing with Reed. Again, another issue with injuries with Reed. He has the potential. Was a high draft pick, and he did score. I think 80 odd in the preseason matches last season. But he got injured the first quarter last season. In round one, which is a bit of a pain. So we'll have to wait on Reed if he is fit and firing. I just think he's probably one of those players where his body just can't handle AFL football. We'll soon see with Reed. Hopefully he can get up and going. I do have two asset emergencies there, which probably isn't a good option. So I might potentially swap one of these two, whoever performs the best out of these. Or maybe a potential another defender, rookie who does well. It's sort of hit or miss with these rookies. I could sort of maybe, if Reed does get up, have a bit more confidence with him, but it's just the injury. So who knows? And then on to the midfield here. There's a few interesting selections that I've got here, and we start off with Bontempelli. I think, look, probably the best player in the game in my opinion. Really should have won a couple of Brownloads by now. He's been unlucky. In my opinion, he's better than Cripps. And even the guy next to him, Dacos, is better than Cripps. Just in Supercoach scoring, just in stats in general. Look, you could probably hold out with Bontempelli since he's 681,000. If he does have a few poorer games in the first few rounds, you can probably pick him up at a cheaper price. But it's a player that you got to eventually get to anyway, and you might as well start with him instead of training him to later. But I can understand why some people might not start with him if you do need that extra cash for another player or a bit better rookie or a player you're a bit more confident in. I can understand that. But I'll probably just have him just in case if he does go off early on. Who they have round one? So they've got North Melbourne as well. So he could potentially get like a 150, 160 game, maybe even more. Does it have up round 0? No, it doesn't. Not for Supercoach. I don't think the Bulldogs are playing anyway. So round 1 against North Melbourne, he could get like a 160, and you're already going to be in trouble of trying to get him in earlier on. That's potential. Round 2, where they got Collingwood. He has performed well against them recently there in a few matches, and then he's got Adelaide. It's hit or miss with some of these players early on. Look, he's got North, so it's more likely he's going to score well than not. And then Dacos, once again, was probably a bit unlucky last year with a Brownload. Another player was unlucky. Look, he could potentially even score more. He's still fairly young. He could even increase his high scoring, could even become close to one of the highest scoring players ever. The only issue with Dacos, he does have a poor game now and then. But all the top players do have a poor game. It's just, can he cope with the tag? Something he probably has to deal with. Look, he's going to be another player he's going to have, and he's a bit cheaper than Bontempelli as well. And then you've got Luke Davis-Uniacke, which is probably the one that I'm on the fence about the most, really. Had him a few years ago, and he either got injured or it was late missing. There's always something going wrong with Luke Davis-Uniacke. I think he has probably one of the higher potentials at the midfielders in the game. And he has shown that at times he just isn't quite as consistent as some of the top midfielders. He's sort of on the borderline of A or A plus midfielder. I do think he can get to 115 average. I'm not going to doubt it. It's going to be a tough task. He's still not really young. He's sort of at that prime age now where he's going to be performing at his peak. It's a sort of a bit of a risk with his pick. The issue is there's no one really around that price point who could probably really get to 115. Maybe a few other players along those lines, but they're either overpriced or they're not. I don't think they're going to quite get there with that. So we'll wait and see with Luke Davis-Uniacke. If nothing happens during pre-season and he dominates the pre-season matches, look, he's in. And then Oliver, 451,000. I reckon he's undervalued, I would say. Had a lot of off-field issues in the last few years. Was able to get a decent season in last season, or at least played majority of the matches. Pretty much, I think he played a full season. Had a few good games now and then, but this wasn't quite as consistent as he was previously. Do you think he can get close to back to his best? But he is getting a little bit older. If he can get at least year his best, that'd be enough. I'm not too sure if he's going to be quite a keeper. If he can get to his form back in 2021 or the early 2020s, he'd be a phenomenal pick. And I can see why a lot of people have gone with him. I'm just gone with him just to be, if he does go off in the first few rounds, you want to be with the competition, and if he does that and you don't have him, then you're behind everyone else. And that's the concern with Oliver. If he does fail, I don't think he's going to drop off really that too much. Like, he's not going to really decrease in price. I can't really see it unless he gets injured or something crazy happens. Who knows? But Melbourne really do need him. And I reckon he can go up there again. But will he be at his peak best? I'm not too sure. But if he can at least go up 150k or even 100k, that'd be okay. He might have to upgrade later, but he will probably want to later upgrade targets, unless something crazy happens. And then we've got Will Ashcroft, the Norm Smith medalist. And that's probably one of the reasons why I did pick him, because he performed well in the back half of last season off an injury. Imagine if he didn't get injured, he'd price a lot higher. And his development might have been even better. And I still reckon he's got room for improvement in terms of his scoring. I reckon I can't see him scoring any lower. He's just going to go up in price, in my opinion. He's going to increase his scoring. I just can't see him really dropping, really. Hopefully he can start scoring over the hundreds. 105 would be great. He could potentially be a keeper, who knows. Maybe not quite yet, maybe 1 or 2 years off, but who knows. It was a high draft pick. And then you've got Cumming, 287, which is sort of the mid-pricer. And he has averaged 90 for a few seasons ago, which is sort of what we're hoping to get. New club. Some players who take off at a new club. Some players who struggle a bit. Hopefully he can get some in his position Adelaide side. It gets to averaging around 90, and then we can upgrade him when he has a bye, potentially. He can get close to high 400s, 500. That's sort of what you want, and I'll be happy with that. And then we've got O'Sullivan, another rookie who I don't really know too much about. He was like a high draft pick. And who knows with North Melbourne, a lot of these young players it's probably a bit of mixed experimenting and just, see what sticks with them. Hopefully he should get a game. It's another, you do have a lot of good midfielders there, or midfield's North Melbourne's strong point, compared to other positions, is what I'm trying to say. So we'll soon see if he does get the midfield time. Again, I'm not a North Melbourne fan. I haven't really followed Sullivan will probably know more about it than what I do. But hopefully, once the preseason matches come, we'll sort of know where he stands. And then we go on to Levi Ashcroft again. Ashcroft, his brother. Yeah, the job security, it's probably not quite as high as some of these other rookies, but he should be starting and play with his other brother. And then once again, he should get hopefully an average, somewhat a half decent score. Did well as a junior. And then Sid Draper, another high midfield. Probably really needs sort of the few rookies here, but probably a too expensive bench. Probably really should sort that out here. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do here with these rookies. I guess, having a mid-pricer, I'm fairly happy with that. Potentially could upgrade to another mid-pricer, but I'm not too sure who else I'm going to pick in the midfield averaging at that price. There really isn't anyone who I'm too keen on for the most part. Maybe could I upgrade a Coleman to a McKercher for potential growth? Who knows? I'm not too sure about that. But a lot of these midfielders here, similarly, he should be able to get a game for Richmond. They've lost a lot of good players. Sid Draper maybe. Once again with the rookies, I'm not too sure. But as you can see here, with North Melbourne and Richmond rookies should be pretty safe, at least with Richmond especially, because they've lost a lot of good players. And Camperelli, sort of a bit of a famous old name a little bit, if you're an Essendon Carlton fan. He's a cheap price point, and I'm not too sure if you'll get a game with Carlton. I'm not particularly confident with that. But who knows? That would probably all change by round 0 or round 1. And then the rucks here. Sherry's pretty obvious. Pretty happy that when we're picking him. He was probably one of the most underrated players last season. Didn't really get the recognition he deserves. I know he's playing for North Melbourne and they're near the bottom of the ladder, but still. He's probably at least in the top 3 best ruckman at the moment. At least based off last year, and he's still at a good age, at his prime now. Will he do as well as last year? Who knows? But yeah, I wish I selected him last year. I mean, miles ahead of where I was. And look, they've got a tough matchup. He's got a tough matchup against English early on. So I have to wait and see on that. And then you got round 2. Who North got? So they got Melbourne. Ooh, they got gone. It's probably arguably the toughest matchups. Or 2 of. And then they've got Adelaide, which O'Brien's okay. He's not quite as good as the other 2. So Sherry, look, he's got a tough start by the looks of it. Against probably 2 of the top 5 ruckmen. But the reason why I prefer him over Gawn is simply because Gawn seems to have a few injury issues in the last few years. Even though Gawn has had a high average, Sherry actually had a higher total points, which is sort of probably what you want. Less injuries, younger age. Probably should say Gawn's peak is better at this stage. But he is sort of on a downcline now, Gawn. And he has been having a few more injuries. And then you've got English, Darcy, a few of these other players, Evan and Marshall. They're all a bit more pricier. Actually, I think around they're a similar price, but they're at that sort of either injury prone, particularly with Darcy, although he is cheaper, Darcy, but he does have that injury. Well, English is roughly around the same price, but I think there's probably a little bit more growth with Sherry, and he has probably that slightly more potential to score. It's probably on the same lines, and Marshall, again, he's sort of at that mature age, doesn't have as much growth. He's still another decent option. And then you've got Matt Flynn here, which he didn't really play that much. He's undervalued. He did alright the last a few seasons ago. West Coast hopefully then will play him instead of Williams. He is a better ruckman than Williams. He scores a lot more. So, yeah, hopefully he does get selected. I can see there's a few people who have gotten Tom de Koning, which is a bit interesting. And then, yeah, Sims is an emergency ruck. Hopefully he can get a game early on. I'll just have a look as well. So, yeah, a few people have gone Marshall. Toby Kevis. Yeah, he's sort of old now. Wouldn't really go with him. Rather English, to be honest. And Which is getting old. He's another player that's going to go down. And same with Grundy. Darcy Cameron had a good season. But again, he's sort of at that peak. Lloyd Meek maybe had a good season last season. And then Tom McConning does have a bit more potential for upgrowth. We'll have to wait and see with the preseason game. Did have a few, a bit of a hot run, but then sort of died later on. Around the middle of the season, I think he did alright. Had a few decent games. I think one against Geelong, he did really well. And then Darcy, this to injuries and having Jackson in the side, sort of not what I really want. And then Briggs sort of stole Flynn's spot as well. And then you got O'Brien. So West Coast don't really have that proper ruckman other than Williams, and I think Flynn is that better ruckman, so the reason why I'm gone with him. And as you can see here, you've also got Hugh Boyd, people going maybe he's a bit cheaper, but we're stuck with Sims because he has a better job, would have better job security at this stage. And then onto the forward line where things sort of, wouldn't say interesting, but we've actually got a half decent forward line this season. So I've got Francis. Yeah, I'm surprised he was forward. He was mainly a midfielder last season, but he must have got enough enough forward time, because he was never a forward at any stage last year, which was interesting. So yeah, which is good for us. Makes life a little bit easier in the forward line, a little less predictable, which is great. And if you can sort of increase that scoring this year, Horn Francis is getting a bit older now, so there's a little bit high expectations on him as well. So he's a must-have in my opinion. And Ranklin, another high averaging rating forward. Did he get suspended, I believe, for a period of matches last season. And has scored well. He's sort of improved, and hopefully he can improve more. Still somewhat young, so he probably sort of at his peak now or getting close to it. So if he can increase his scoring, that'd be great. And yeah, he's going to be one of the high averaging forwards. And then you've got McRae here, in a new club. Hopefully he can get that same role that he had with Bulldogs a while ago, like a few seasons ago. I couldn't imagine him getting under 500k, let alone under 400k. So he just hasn't been getting that same, that midfield minutes where he likes to play. As a result, he's actually been put as a forward, but he was never actually a forward. Actually, he was a forward last season. And he didn't really make the cut either. So hopefully he does get that more midfield time with St Kilda. He should, and hopefully get back to his numbers where he was at his peak. I don't think he will be able to. The problem with McRae is a bit slow. He does get the ball. I still reckon they could have used him for that final against Hawthorn. Because when they were struggling, they needed someone to get the ball. Really, they were just struggling for disposable. And then we've obviously got Bailey Smith, another player who's had a lot of off-field issues. I just don't get it with some of these players. They're decent looking, they're athletic, they're earning a lot of money, and they just go off, with off-field issues or mental health. And it's like, well, you're in a better position than 99% of people your age. So I'm not too sure exactly the reasons why, but I guess the stress of being an AFL footballer, being on the spotlight, can cause a few issues or mentally. Smith, look, he's still fairly young as well. Probably hasn't quite really had that full proper breakout yet. He's going to a new club that has a decent reputation for development. And hopefully he does get a better role with, Geelong. And he can sort of take over their aging list. And the same thing with Daniel as well. He didn't get quite the role with the Bulldogs, with Bevo, and a lot of people had a lot of Bulldog supporters been complaining with McRae and Daniel, being good players in the past, but he's been playing them out of position. So if Daniel, hopefully all these three go up there. Obviously been in the system for a while now. Everyone knows who they are and what they're capable of doing. Smith, we still haven't really seen the peak yet for him, but who knows what his potential is. Expecting a score increase, so they may take him maybe a month to settle in with Geelong, with their structure and their game style. And Daniel should go up in price as well. Not too sure if he'll be able to get to his peak. And then you've got Tom Lynch here, which is another player that I'm sort of a bit iffy about. Because he's coming back from an injury. He's, I think, in his 30s now. With probably the bottom side. A forward in the bottom side is probably arguably the worst position to be in. But he has had seasons of scoring, averaging of 90, and even reaching nearly 600k a few seasons ago. Now, I don't think he's going to get up to that price point, because he's just not going to get the same amount of supply as he had previously. But if he has a few half-decent games in a row, even a back-to-back 90s or a couple hundreds in a row, that's all you really need to make money from him. And if he gets to 350, 400, I'll probably just sell him off. That's all I really need with these forwards, and they are capable of doing that. Now, they've got Carlton round 1, which is a bit... Newman is out. He may get 1 or 2 goals out of that. Port Layers, they don't have the best defence, Port, but I don't think he's going to get too much supply that game. And St Kilda, they're a good team defensively, so it's going to be tough for that. Brisbane, and that's going to be a tough matchup as well. And then you got Fremantle. That's going to be another tough matchup because they're another good defensive side. And you got Gold Coast, which is probably the best. Really, only side I can really think Lynch could probably get a real hold of, or a potential, to dominate to some extent. It's going to be a tough month for him. So I mean, look, the upside is there. It does have a relatively tough start to the season with the teams he is playing against. But the thing is, there is no revolt there. Will that be a good or bad thing? Who knows? Because the best defender is going to go on to Lynch. I mean, look, he's probably going to more likely to make money than lose money, which is probably a silly question to say, or a silly thing to say, because, yes, I'm not. I mean, look, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, there's probably a rookie out there that's gonna be a lot cheaper and then score more or the same as Lynch. But he does have that high potential to get those 100 plus scores. I just don't think he's going to get that anymore due to his age and Richmond not being as good as they were a few seasons ago. And then here we've got the bench here, Kako. His job security should be there. We don't have too much, good small forwards. We're really struggling in that area, probably more than any other position on the ground, you can argue. Probably more so than key forwards, because at least we've got Wright and Caddy, even though Caddy's young and, Wright has been at mediocre form. We sort of know what they can produce or the potential or have produced in the past. We just have no really good, decent small forwards, and Kako should be there as a job security, and he does have that forward midfielder, so he can maybe switch it and cover or buy. Although I've got no break, no DPP plays in the midfield, which I might have to change. And then you've got Elijah Hewitt, who again has played like one full season. I think he was injured the other season. I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sold with him. A lot of other people have gone on board with him, I guess, because he has had at least one season, but he wasn't really that great that season. I think averaging 45, which isn't really that great. So this one might potentially be changed. I'd probably rather have another a cheaper rookie. But who knows? He's maybe a little bit older, a bit more mature, and hopefully does go up in price a little bit more. 123. Yeah, it's another one that I'm not 100% sold on. It's probably over-selected in my opinion, but I can see why people have gone with him. And then you've got Erasmus. Again, another forward who didn't play too much last season. Who had a half decent season, or at least played a few decent matches the previous season. Look, yeah, who knows with Erasmus? Again, it's another player, him and Hewitt, probably in a similar position, where they both have played in the past, was sort of on that fringe, or bottom six players in the side. You haven't really gotten, and you haven't really broken out yet, or sort of heading in that direction, or have been injured, or been the seconds. There's sort of that position, so I can see what they are undervalued, but I don't think they're going to increase in price as much as some of these other rookies, or even a few of these semi-mid prices. Who knows? I could be wrong about that. I mean, Kako probably isn't ideal, a small forward, but with the potential scoring, I think job security can be higher than some of these other players. Potentially. I mean, I'm just an Essendon supporter. That's probably the reason why I'm picking him, but who knows? Look, overall, I'm happy with most of the selections. Again, it's always the rookies where it's just tough to get a hand of. I usually struggle early on and getting that right team early. But I do come back strong usually. So I'll probably need to fix up the bench here. I've got too many. I can't have two 170 plus midfielders there. Maybe one potentially. If they're a decent scorer, you could have them there. As you can see here, Draper as emergency option probably isn't the best idea because You've got Richmond and Carlton there earlier on, but that's all going to be changed by round 1 anyway. Just for the first match of the round and pre-season matches as well, we'll probably all change the rookies. But there'll be definitely a few starters here, that's for sure. I'll do a few question marks with Cumming and Coleman though. Let's see if they get up, if they do well in pre-season and actually are playing. Even Mills, I want to see a little bit more of a read on him. But yeah, I mean, look, who knows with this season? We'll just have to wait and see in the next one's time. See if a lot of these players are fit and firing, because a lot of the players that are undervalued here, either coming off an injury or they're in a new club, a new role change, or a new position they're going to be getting at a new club, and it's going to be tough to see how they're going to react to the new systems and structures of the new club and the coach, and getting chemistry with the teammates, which is probably the main concerns of what I'm worried about. But who knows? If you disagree with these selections, again, it is pre-season team. This isn't going to be a final team. It's sort of a draft team, or not Supercoach draft team, but just sort of a team that, just to see, just a team that I can sort of play along with. Yeah. All right, thank you for watching. Let me know if there is any other selections you disagree with, or any other players. I'm aware there are a few other selections. There are a few other players that I'm eyeing in. A few pods that could give you an advantage as well.